WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on there. I want to thank you for being with us today. We're coming to you from the Garland Apparel Group in Garland, North Carolina. And this used to be a company that was traded names by Brooks Brothers, built in 1954, a huge legacy. Today we're talking with Ken Ragland, who is one of the owners of this operation, and Sacha Smits, who is the president and looks after all the operational stuff here. Tremendous job, Sacha. Guys, thank you for letting us come today, look at what you're doing here, and review the processes. Ken, this was a decision that you and your group made to come to, should I say, small towns, southeastern North Carolina. Was that a hard decision? How long did you have to think about that?
We started the decision process in April of 2021. By June, we had made the decision and we secured the opportunity to acquire the factory and close on the deal. And then at that point began the resurrection of what is known as the Garland Shirt Factory historically to become Garland Apparel Group.
Wow. So now I understand, Sacha, that there's you started out and you've got about 100 of the original employees that were here with Brooks Brothers still working here?
Yes, we were lucky to have a lot of the former employees return and join under the Garland Apparel Group.
This is kind of a family thing. I kind of feel that, and talking with some of the folks and touring the factory, there's this family environment.
We have a lot of spouses that work here together and other family members, siblings. We're very proud that there are, many people within a household that were able to come back and have their living here and basically provide for their families with what can reopened and have a great factory here for everybody to work at.
Guys, I want to take just a second to say how much we collectively, me and the population in this region, appreciate you being here and how important it is. We're talking hundreds of employees here. We're talking a 78,000 square foot building. Ken, you and I have talked off air, and you're looking at the future. You're a futuristic thinking guy, so we cannot be sure exactly where this is going, but there's a lot of possibilities here. What I'd like to do now is kind of segue over to the actual plant itself. And Sacha, give you an opportunity to kind of walk through some of the products you have made. And Ken, then we're going to kind of look at the plant inside. So we want folks to really see what happens here and what employees do, what the work process is, and the dynamic system that is involved. So let's segue and take a look at some of those products you've already made.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
We're now inside the plant here at the Garland Apparel Group, and Sacha is president of this whole operation. There's some products that you make, it's just fascinating, that go all over the world. If you could, would you just kind of introduce some of these things that's going on right here in Garland, North Carolina?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. So formerly this building was known as the Garland Shirt Factory, but we make various products now. Everything from a casual hoodie that we have supplied the Vermont Flannel Company with, moving on to our military contracts. We make an overcoat for the Air Force, officer uniforms for the Navy, both men's and women's. We're developing some tailored clothing in this factory, something that was never done here before, whether it be a regular construction or soft construction for a more casual look. Of course, we still have our shirts. The Brooks Brothers shirt has returned to Garland. We manufacture several Brooks Brothers shirts. We make boxers and lounge pants as well. We brought female shirts and dresses to this factory. That's another product that we have. Finally here, another one of our customers, Raleigh Denim, right out of North Carolina Capital, shirts for Raleigh Denim. So we're very proud of all of these customers, and we have several more.
And Sacha, one of the things that interests me in each one of those things you produce, there's a lot of hours put into the detail work, the stitching, and the quality. And all of these items are high-end products. And when I say high-end, I'm talking financially expensive retail items.
True, that's true. This is a finished product. A lot of work goes into, once we receive an order, to become a roll of fabric to a finished product takes a lot of work. I'd be happy to show you that process.
Absolutely, and speaking of rolls of fabric, I'd like to kind of segue to those patterns that are made, and they are all technology driven now. So next stop, we're going over to the side of the house that does that intake and processing of the fabric. Let's step over there and see what's going on.
All right.
Sacha, we're now in a room that's critical here at this plant, and it's kind of the beginning of everything. And you got a gentleman with you, Jackie, is kind of in charge of this section. Tell us what goes on here.
Jackie Devane is in charge of our marker room and our cutting room. So once we have a pattern for a shirt, we put it into our system and we try to maximize how much we can cut with the fabric that we have. Once an order comes in also, we have to make sure, there are several sizes. They all get inputted into our system. We go ahead and plot those patterns onto our plotters, and then we go ahead and send them out to our cutting machines, which you'll see shortly, where we actually cut the shirts.
Jackie, if you don't get this right, none of it's going to be right.
If you don't get, this is where it starts at. And you can see here we have color-coded patterns for each size, and we try to get those patterns as tight as we can, because that's the utilization of the fabric. So we want to try to keep, if this don't start out right, it's not going to end out right.
Well, we're going to leave this room and go to the actual cutting room that cuts the patterns that's been laid out here. But this is a huge technology piece, folks, that a lot of people don't realize is involved in this process of making garments. Let's step over to this other room and see what's going on there.
All right.
Okay.
We're now at that place that the material of what is used to make everything here comes in, and somehow you have to make sure the quality is right on that. Sacha, I'll start with you and pull Jackie in. How does this work?
As fabric comes in, we have to make sure that we confirm how wide the fabric is and how many yards we have, so we can place those patterns into place and create the orders that we're given. What we do is we check the fabric, we inspect the fabric, we make sure that there aren't any damages, check those dimensions that we spoke about, and then it heads to the cutting room where Jackie will go ahead and have his spreader spread it and cut it, and then if we do find any defects, he goes from there to make sure that we have a quality product.
And just to add on to what Sacha just said, we try to inspect 100%, and that helps our cut down on our recuts, as well as saving time on doing the recuts.
What's acceptable, and then say, well, this is not acceptable, can't use it. But throughout here, as you begin to look, you begin to see so many, flaws or so many things that you really don't think you would notice, once they did the shirt, but it's there. So you kind of let that go, but you don't let everything go.
George, do you ever get a roll of fabric when you're looking at it that you just stop the roll and say, this entire roll is just not worth going forward?
We had something like that, but we still try to go through with it, just to let, if you keep getting 30 and 40 and, 50 flaws, then you know that that's something. See all that on that cart? We found that not to be usable, because once they got it up front, there was so much stuff in it that as we went to inspect it, we found even more. So they said, well, no, don't use it. But some of it had been damaged because of the weather, and that's when they got hold to it, trying to use it. The whole idea of it wasn't acceptable up there, because they had to keep coming back here, getting more fabric, more recuts, trying to make up for the flaws that was in the fabric. So,
and all of it has to come through here before it goes out there.
For the most part, 99.9% of it. Now, at one time we weren't inspecting as much, but now we inspect every day and just about everything that comes in. So. And then I don't have a criteria to kick something out. You see what I'm saying? If it's 100 dots, Brooks Brothers would say, hey, 50 dots, kick it out. Don't use it. But as we go, we're saying if I tag it that much, then it's up to the discretion of Mr. Jackie and the spreading department and everybody to say, hey, we can't deal with it. We can't use this. But so far, I haven't seen anything that we kicked completely out. We dotted it 1,000 times, but we didn't kick it out. So this has been a good batch in that there's not a lot of noticeable flaws that is in the fabric that we wouldn't be able to use. So at this pace we run the machine, if it gets too slow, then you'll be here forever. If it's too fast, then you can't pick up what you need to be able to see. So you get a good pace and just go at that pace.
How many years you been doing this, George?
Too long. No, well, when Brooks Brothers was here, we did it too. We did it off of a different machine. So roughly 10 years. But like I said, for the most part, these, what just came in, have been a pretty good batch. We've got flaws in them, but they're really not enough to say, hey, we won't use it. And it's not enough to say, hey, this is not acceptable. Now what happens here, the machine told, well, the roll said 112. It's at a point of finishing. So what I'll do is measure one more time the width of this thing. And there are pinholes in the fabric. So from that pinhole to that pinhole is 61 inches. Take off a ½ inch. This measurement for the third will be 60.5. So we write down 60.5 on here. That we've got 3 measurements. We take the mean or the average. So I've got 60.5, 60.25, and 60. So I'd say 60.25 would be the mean or the average. Okay? We're saying 112 yards, so there's 112 yards to it. What I'll do now is bring this piece over. This my okay, I'll bring it over with my hand. That we can go ahead and tie the roll up and then take it away. Okay. So this one will detach itself. Okay. If the tube is good, we save them so that we can use it again to roll something up. So now it's going to be tagged and put in the bin. So what I usually do is run it and stop it till it comes back around, where I can go ahead and put tape on it.
George, you do an important part here, and the important thing that struck me in your conversation and telling us what you do is that it all starts with you when it comes to quality.
Well, it has to
because
be
it comes in
personal.
that door, you see it first.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And it has to be something personal. It's something that you want to do and do right.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing here. Trying to have an attitude that, hey, whatever we do, we're trying to do it right and do it so we can get
Quality
the best
first.
product. That's right. Best product.
Providing fewer commutes, more backyard offices, and crystal clear meetings. Providing less, you froze up, and more presence in your presentations. Providing a better internet experience. Providing possible.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
You forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
Most aging adults want to stay in their homes as long as possible. And as your loved ones get older, you want to support them, even when you can't be there. Star is proud to offer Star Alert. This new system is now mobile and has GPS compatibility, so your loved ones can live their lives and you can have peace of mind, knowing they can get the help they need with just the simple push of a button. The new Star Alert also offers automatic fall detection, so help will be alerted even if they can't press the button. Call and ask about Star Alert today.
It's a big deal when you use the word quality. We see it passed around a lot, but when you start seeing what happens to ensure that the definition of quality is completed, that's where all this logistical stuff happens.
Absolutely. Nobody wants to buy a shirt that has any types of flaws in it. So what we do is we work around it if we have any flaws in the rolls of fabric that we receive. And it all happens up front. You don't want to have a finished product and have to recut or have a shirt be a second rather than having that quality product right from the get-go.
And this organization, even from Brooks Brothers to now, the owners are still looking at quality as the centerpiece.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We have a QC team that works throughout the factory to check. If fabric comes in that's questionable, they'll look at it and they'll say, okay, maybe we have to press it beforehand, maybe we have to reject it, maybe we have to cut it differently. One thing that people don't take into consideration is when you have plaid fabric, we match the plaids. So you also have to make sure when you're figuring out your pattern, how wide is the plaid? And then how are you going to place those pieces of the pattern in the fabric so when you're sewing it, everything's going to match. So a lot goes into the upfront work before you get to actually sewing the garment.
So what we're going to do now is segue over to a location here that uses both human power and technology power to actually cut those patterns, Jackie, that we saw in the computer room, to cut it out of the fabric that has been inspected. We're now at this cutting table, and there's a lot going on here. As you can see, and the folks watching can see, this table is moving back and forth. And kind of tell us what's going on and what Alex is doing here with this chair. And Jackie, I think this is part of your process as well. So I'm just going to kind of segue it to you guys. Tell us what's happening here.
So we just saw George inspecting the fabric, and now the fabric is being spread so that we can put all those pieces together and cut the shirts that we need to produce.
So Jackie, when we started out with the computer and we saw the patterns on the computer, that's where that pattern actually ends up on top of this fabric.
Exactly. And what Alex do, he'll take that pattern, he'll lay it out on the fabric, and keep in mind, keeping his ends as short as he can, because fabric is the #1 cost. So he'll make sure that his ends are at a minimum, and he'll take it over from there and just lay it out.
So Sacha, you want every piece of that fabric that's quality to be used in this process?
Absolutely, especially if it's the customer's fabric. We don't always supply the fabric. The customer will say, we want these 100 shirts made on this fabric. We've even made products out of cashmere. So cashmere is an expensive fabric to acquire. Mm-hmm. So if they give us the fabric, and for 100 shirts, we have to guarantee that we don't waste any of that fabric and make sure we get the product out the way the customer is asking for it.
And you have a number of the machines just like this here. And as I looked at this, it struck me, these are, should I say, rather expensive machines?
They are very expensive, and it speeds up the process a lot for us. So as you can see, it automatically cuts the fabric. Again, all computer automated, and loads the fabric very easily for the person that is spreading the fabric.
And saving time too, because the technology cuts down on the number of employees you'd have to do that if you were doing it manually.
Exactly. Absolutely. And we have 5 cutting tables here. We'll show you one of them shortly, where again, if you were cutting by hand with scissors, you'd be here, we'd have an army of people here and a lot of strained hands. But our automatic machines help us, and again, with speed and accuracy.
So Alex is basically with the machine doing the work of 4 or 5 people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, where do we go next?
Cutting machines.
We're going back to the cutting machine. We'll segue from here. We'll be back.
Thank you, Alex.
Good job, Alex. Guys, we're like at the cutting table now, and as we walk down this table, there's a pattern that Jackie's been laid out on your computer and is now on top of several layers of material. What happens here as we're looking at this?
So as we look at this, we notice that the pattern itself is the width of the fabric. So there again, we utilize our fabric, which is number one cost. And as it comes from Alex, you see there we got several ply laid, which we can lay up to 20. We try not to go over 18 or 20 ply to keep the quality good. And after it leaves here, it goes straight down to the automatic cutters.
Now this cutter down here, as we walk in that direction and look at that, it compresses this in some way, so you get the cut, Sacha, that's exactly what's needed.
Once it heads over to get ready to cut, the person operating the machine will set a point to make sure that we're cutting right where the pattern is. Vacuum turns on, sucks everything into place, and then the machine starts cutting, which we'll show you next.
Okay, we standing here with Tammy, my operator. This is a picture of actually what the bowman pulls up. And what Tammy will do, she'll observe this as it cut. And as it cut, and you notice the pieces that's in the lighter blue have already been cut. It's got a little dot here to show you the pieces that's being cut. Also, the pieces that's in red are waiting to be cut. Now, as it cuts it by section. As it finishes a section, this section will move off the table, and Tammy will readjust it and start the next section. Actually, this pattern is actually what I made, and I showed you in the marking room that I made, and it was just transferred into the cutter.
And thus, from here, what we'll see is a lot of the pieces which make up the garment, and we're going to now go over where those pieces are put back together.
Yes.
Sounds great.
For the ultimate Wi-Fi experience, you need whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Star's whole home Wi-Fi provides ultimate coverage, ultimate performance, and ultimate power all the time. Star's whole home Wi-Fi systems feature the latest Wi-Fi 6 technology and are equipped with unrivaled bandwidth and 4 times more simultaneous connections. So you can connect tons of devices throughout your home with no lag and no downtime. Plus, with 24/7 support and remote troubleshooting, you can rest assured that Star is always there to help you should any issues arise. Star's whole home Wi-Fi also comes with the Command IQ mobile app, putting you in control of your home network and making it easy to set up and connect devices, run network speed tests, pause Wi-Fi, and set parental controls all from the palm of your hand. It's the ultimate Wi-Fi experience. Contact Star today to get started.
Just because something may work doesn't mean it's right for your business. Let Star Communications' knowledgeable consultants help you customize a hosted voice system that's right for you. Our dedicated experts work with you to understand your business needs and guide you at every step, from choosing and installing services to ongoing maintenance and support. Contact Star today.
Sacha, we're now in that segment or section of this huge factory that the pieces come together of all those things we saw cut, how it comes in, and I'm looking at a lot of moving parts here. What's happening in this area?
So again, we cut our material to all the different shirts that we need to make, and all those parts go to a different area of the factory. So they're the collars, the fronts, the backs, and as they all come out onto the sewing floor, they go into different areas. They get made simultaneously, individually, and then put together to create a shirt.
And that shirt actually is, this whole process that we're fixing to walk through is where it all comes together in the sense of perfection.
Absolutely. We pride ourselves on quality and make sure that we have to cut precisely. And then as we sew, we have to make sure that we stay within our quality standards. Every job has a quality spec. And we have, again, our QC team that goes through and randomly checks everything that's out on the floor.
When as we walk and look at some of these things, I see a card here with a lot of pieces on it. Is that kind of an example of different pieces that are bundled?
Yes, this just came out of the cutting room. We have fronts, we have sleeves, we have backs. They'll go to different parts of the floor. Again, we have information attached with them. This tells them what color thread to use, what type of buttons will be put on, what labels we'll be using. All that information is utilized by our operators who will make their different jobs and proceed with more work. There are about 45 operations in making a shirt. We split them down to 45 segments or operations. And it's pretty much a assembly line where as they are sewing, the shirt gets built upon. This area right here is where we make our sleeves. So we have a placket for our sleeve, right where the button goes into place. Once these sleeves are done, it goes to a holding area until all of the collars and the fronts and backs are done for those shirts. And then they'll move on and we'll start sewing the pieces together. The first thing we do is the shoulder seam. We attach the front to the back. Then we'll sew the collar on. And then we'll do all the other elements that will make it into a complete shirt.
What amazes me in this conversation is that the moving parts that I see and the huge number of people, and there's a lot of pieces as I walk by and see different stacks. We talked about this idea of folks working and producing a lot of product. So they actually get checked off on by the amount that they turn out as well.
Absolutely. The number of units you make, that's how we base the pay system on. You make more units, you make more money. And the multiple jobs that you learn is also beneficial because if there's no work on one job, you go to a different job, so there's always work available and you know, that makes up your day. Plus it helps in the factory if people know multiple jobs as we can move different models around.
One of the things that you mentioned earlier was this check and balance with plaids and the material involved in that. Why is that so important? And do you ever just get it off? I mean, explain that.
Well, we not only make plain shirts, but we also deal with a lot of plaid fabric. Plaid fabric, you have to take extra steps to make sure they come out correctly. So when we go ahead and we spread the fabric, before we cut it, we pin it in place to make sure that all the stripes and plaids will align. The pieces of the shirt have to be put into the marker pattern in a specific way. So then again, once we sew everything, it'll line up. A quality shirt, a quality garment is one that has the plaids matching. So that you take some extra effort in doing that, and that's what gives you a quality garment.
One of the things I've noticed here is that everything is built around that one word, from the beginning of the actual garment itself to the very production of bringing it together. It's all about quality.
It is. You want your customers to give you an order, but then you also want them to come back and give you another order. Why do they do that? Because they're happy with the quality of the garment, how you ship the garment to them, and also how you interact with them. Customer service is very important to us, and we want to make sure that each customer knows that every one of their orders is very important to us. And if you don't have a quality garment, you don't have a business. A lot of people come to us, they don't know how to sew. We train them, we show them how to sew. A lot of people think that they can't work in a factory like this because they don't know how to sew. Many people don't know how to sew. We teach them. Also, there are other operations. You can see behind us here, we have pressing operations. Where we were before in the cutting room, they're cutting operations. So there are a lot of opportunities here. And these are all things that we do. It's a trade. Sewing is a trade, working in this type of factory is a trade, and these are all things that we do. If somebody wants to work at Garland Apparel, we will show them what they need to do and so that they can learn a trade.
It's a specific skill set that if a person has, they can go a long ways financially with it. The other thing that strikes me is when we're looking at these garments, they can end up in many parts of the world.
Absolutely. We have customers in North Carolina. We have customers throughout this country. We also have international customers. We have customers in Sweden, in Korea, and in Japan. We ship internationally, which is another big responsibility because you also have to take into consideration what other countries' requirements are, whether it comes to labeling or shipping.
I think it's interesting when I think about the volume of things that happen right here in Garland, North Carolina. And a lot of folks don't realize it, but this has been going on for decades, to include Brooks Brothers before the current operation and what they shipped out all over the world.
Yeah, and we're very happy to still be producing Brooks Brothers shirts along with other customers. So this is something that wasn't here before, the tailored side of this factory, also the military contracts, producing for the Navy, for the Air Force, and now developing for the Space Force and for the Marines. It's something we're very proud of here in Garland.
It sounds like it's an exciting time for the garment business and for the production of garments. It's also a challenging time. As we move forward, we're going to continue to discuss a lot of things that happen here and kind of bring all this together for our viewers and listeners.
Eastern North Carolina is a beautiful place where we gladly choose to call home, and we strive to provide the best communications services. STAR is committed to improving communications to all our service areas because we want to improve the communities where we not only work, but also live. STAR Communications. We are neighbors serving neighbors.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our STAR Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
We're now in that area of the industry here in the plant that you make a huge number of uniforms for the military. We saw those in the first opening segment of the show. This is a big part of the operation.
We're very proud to be making the U.S. Navy officers' uniforms right here in Garland, North Carolina. We also make garments for the Air Force, and we're developing for Space Force and for the Marines. So in this particular area, we make all of the trousers, men's, women's, also women's skirts. And as you can see here, we have different types of machinery here that we use to make the uniforms.
These uniforms, when you make them, you get an order, and that order comes in, and it's the same process that we looked at with the shirts and the other garments. They go through the same process. How about the inspection piece? Are they inspected differently by the military as opposed to just regular commercial?
We are subject to military inspections on site. So first, before we were able to produce one garment for the military, we had to be certified. We made several samples that went off to the military, and they did their own inspections. They ripped garments apart, they checked the measurements, and they did all of that. And after a painstaking process, we were certified. After that, when you're making garments for the military, every once in a while they'll send their inspector in and they'll check to see what's going on in our facility. Not only how the facility is set up, but they'll look at sample garments again and check the measurements and the quality of the construction of the garments.
Do you notice that the quality issue is a big deal with the military, or has it changed over the years? You've been doing this for some time.
So it's a big deal. One thing that they stressed often, you don't even think about, is that on the jacket you have a welt pocket. They stressed how perfectly straight that had to be. Why? Because that's where they hang their medals from. And so we had to make sure that they had a perfectly straight guideline so that they could hang their medals and make sure everything is correct. When you think about it, as military people are lined up, you know, everything has to look the same, uniform. So that's something that we hold very, very dear, and we make sure that it happens.
Absolutely, and you make both men and women's uniforms here.
Yes.
Skirts, trousers, those kinds of things.
Skirts, female pants and male pants, and then the jackets, of course.
The bulk now you're doing is for the United States Navy?
Correct. And we have a overcoat for the Air Force. And like I said, we're developing other garments. Space Force is now coming into play, and we're developing shirts for them, male and female.
Is that a new creative design for them that they're using? And is that something that you see expanding in the future simply because of what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. It's still in development. They've been making a lot of revisions, wondering what they, how they want it to look. But, we're right there with them. With a lot of our customers, sometimes they'll go ahead and they'll say, this is what we want, make this exactly that way. But with other customers, it's like, okay, well, what do you think about this and what do you think about that? Military, they know what they want. But when it comes to other customers, sometimes we work with them and say what's easier for us or what we think will be a better fit for them.
Well, I think we've kind of come to a point with this segment that we're going to kind of do a closure, and I'm going to try to see if we can get Ken Ragland to kind of help us close out the show today.
That sounds good to me.
We've had a great tour of the Garland Apparel Group right here in the town of Garland in eastern North Carolina, and we're kind of closing out today, Sacha. I want to thank you for taking us through this plant piece by piece. And Ken Ragland, as owner, again, I want to close also by thanking you again and your group for being part of this community and the employability that it offers. As we do that, Sacha, I want to kind of bring together an opportunity for you to touch on some things that maybe we've missed or something you want to add to as it relates to what we make here. The employability piece, I'd love to get both of you to speak to that.
Well, thank you for coming down here. I really appreciate you taking your time to see what we're doing here. Some people don't even know that this factory has reopened. And so I think this is very helpful in letting people know that not only do we, again, make Brooks Brothers shirts here, but we have various customers here. We also are introducing our tailored line, uniforms for the military, and we are looking to continue to hire people and grow. And again, we're very proud to be doing all of this in Garland, North Carolina.
Ken, behind us, we introduced each one of these, or Sacha did, in the beginning of the show, and talked a bit about what each one of these pieces have. But one of the things that's interesting to me is this is an evolving process here. Each time I come, I see more things happening, more people doing stuff, and quite frankly, garments I didn't even know were on the market.
I think that is the key strength to this factory is the mantra that if we can cut the fabric, we can sew it. And we don't want to be limited just to dress shirts, which there's a very large appetite in the country for dress shirts that we can make, but there's an equal appetite for uniforms. I know, as Sacha's mentioned, with the Navy, the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Space Force, we're talking to the Marine Corps now about an opportunity. That's what we think is going to distinguish us long term, is we're not going to just be a one type product shop. We want to be diverse because we know that the world is cyclical. We know that demand is also cyclical, but the Navy and the military branches are not. They need product every year. It is a very good fixture for us, and we want to focus on that as well as then on the shirt business. And that way, when there's a economic downturn and maybe shirt businesses come down, we know the military is going to be there to help keep us supported until the downturn perhaps goes the right direction. And again, what Sacha has done with introducing the tailored line, which is really the military and some of the other trouser businesses that we're working on, is extraordinary. There is a wealth of opportunity for both professionals that we're looking to hire down here, as well as factory employees, both on the factory floor, in the warehouse. I know that you and Sacha have talked about the mindset that this is a family to us. This is a family-owned business by two families that control the equity of the company. We firmly believe in U.S. manufacturing. We will continue to support it, and we hope that people in the local community will get the message that there is a factory that came back from the death's door, so to speak, and is thriving. You said it yourself. It has evolved beyond your imagination in the last year plus, and we hope that next year or in 6 months when you come back, we've evolved even that much more.
It's a tremendous investment, guys, when I look at what I've seen here and just in the multipliers of dollars of equipment. I can't imagine how just cutting equipment and those kinds of things, the computer technology required here. Ken, is this the capsule of this 78,000 square foot building? I mean, I'm looking around and it seems to be pretty full.
It is full. And you know, my dream, if I had one, is we own 9 acres of vacant land on the west side of the factory building. I'd love to find myself in a position, and Sacha as well, where we're reaching out to the state and saying we need to expand, we need to double or triple capacity because military and other opportunities are in front of us, and we need to increase our hiring by double or triple. And putting up a new state-of-the-art building. You know, you've acknowledged in the show, I know, this building was built in 1954. A 1954 building is not as efficient in terms of its energy profile and consumption. The ceilings are a little bit lower. We'd love to have more ceiling height. But you know, that's the pipe dream of sorts. I hope it happens in my lifetime. I think it may, but we've got a long way to go to get to that point. But in the meantime, you know, we still have room to bring more equipment in as we get more business.
Sacha, one of the things that interests me too is I walked through with you the facility and looked at a lot of folks working here, and we did talk to some of those. You've got a younger group of people that seems to be popping up as part of your population. Is that important for you as well?
Absolutely. Like Ken said, we want to be here for quite some time. And what's also interesting is that people think that they can only come here if they already know how to sew, or they, you know, have some type of experience in sewing. We have many different jobs, from cutting to pressing to sewing, and then also there's our QC team, quality control. So there are many different things that need to be done in the process of making a shirt. And the people that are coming to us, a lot of the younger generation, have been reaching out to high schools as well, because when kids graduate, are they going to go to college? Are they going to go into the military? Do they need a job? This is an excellent alternative for anybody that's seeking a job and wants to learn a trade. What we're doing here is a trade, and that's something that they can keep with them for a lifetime.
Ken, a lot of people don't see that. A lot of times when you hear the word trade, they think about electrical, plumbing, or HVAC. But this truly is a skill set that you have to do this job. And it doesn't take you long to look at some of the employees and what they're doing here to understand it. It's a very quality point made, very quality oriented skill.
Well, it is a skill, and it's a skill, and we hope it's not a skill that we lose, but it's transferable. There are other industries. The auto industry has been known for years for having, you know, sewing requirements, you know, upholstery on the inside of automobiles. Home, you know, there's obviously been a huge home textile industry historically in this state. For the most part, it has moved away. There are still a lot of clothing companies and manufacturers in the state. So if somebody learns how to cut or learns how to sew or do quality control or press, those are skills that can go with them, you know, as they move along in their career. We hope they'll come here and they'll stay, but we also recognize that, you know, people's lives do change, and they sometimes do move, or they just move on because they want a new opportunity. And that's something that's always been important to Sacha and me, is that when somebody joins us, we hope when they leave us, whether it's a year or 5 or 10 years down the road, that they leave with more skills and more capabilities than they did when they arrived, which then allows that individual and that individual's family to prosper, you know, as they move along in their life.
Sacha, as president of the operation, I want to welcome you again. I've done this before, but I want to welcome you again to this part of the state, and certainly hope that you enjoy the coastal area. You're at a location here that you can be at the coast. You've got the mountains accessible to you. Ken, maybe sometime in the future you might choose to find a cabin somewhere close by and enjoy the environment as well.
Anything's possible.
So we want to close today with the kind of last word being from you guys. Anything we've missed that you want to touch on before we?
Well, again, thank you for coming here. I really appreciate showing you around and seeing what we're doing here. We have an incredible team of operators here that we're blessed to have, you know, come here and produce the products that there is a demand for. And we, again, are hoping to grow and continue to let people know that we're here. We're here to grow and to stay. And again, many quality garments are coming out of North Carolina, and we're just very thankful to be here.
Well, Sacha Smits, our president, Ken Ragland, owner, thank both of you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for being with us as well as we do this show. We'll hopefully be coming back and seeing some expansion happening right here in Garland, North Carolina. And as always, may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.